takes a couple of seconds. All right. I think we made it. I think we're live. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to have you guys, and my special guest, I'm super excited to have him too. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Larry White. Larry is really the catalyst of creator of opportunities. If you know him, you know this to be true. He's always connecting people and trying to help other people. He coaches and trains some of the top real estate professionals across the world. That's really his passion. He's a serial entrepreneur. He always has his hands in different cookie jars. He loves he really loves real estate. That's his passion. So he owns over 17 residential homes. His primary focus really right now is finding leaders in the real estate industry to use his tools, his resources, and his coaching expertise to create the business that creates clients for life. So that's really Larry, except we forget to mention Larry's lovely bride and children. So You got to tell us your lovely bride and children. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yes. So my bride, she's my soulmate, my ride or die. We've been, we actually just were married for 10 years.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Dated for a semester in college, took about an 8-year break, and then we kind of rekindled things and never looked back. And so we have 3 kids. They're 4, 6, and 13. And it's interesting during self-quarantine time, right? Because they all have needs. Now, not only do we have to run businesses and make sure the homestead, but now we have to teach them as well and make sure that they're all set up for success. So it's been interesting, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, okay, so I didn't even know this about your story until just now. I didn't know that you guys knew each other in college.
Yes, we met in college. And
I did not know that. That's one piece of the puzzle I didn't know.
If you ask like my best friend, like most of them, like she was always the one that got away. I was like, oh man, I screwed up. And when we first met, I was like a capitalist, like to the heart. And she was like this tree hugging liberal. And I was starting this nonprofit called Shoe for Africa, where we would take used running shoes from like P.F. Chang's Rock and Roll Marathon. We would ship them to Kenya. And so I was like, it was a super cool concept. Everybody could participate. But I called her and I was like, hey, like I need somebody with feelings to show me like how you're supposed to feel and do all of this. And like literally within 4 months, I had bought the ring after that. I was like, okay, I'm not letting her go again. And never again.
Anybody that knows the two of you knows that like that is your ride or die. Like that's your soulmate. You guys jive so well. It's awesome.
Yes, because I can tell you I'm probably not very easy to be married to. Like there's never going to be a middle ground. Like we're either going all in or we're probably not doing it at all. So I push the limits as much as possible.
That's hilarious. Well, I have to tell you, after that brief introduction, I really have to ask you, like, how in the world do you find time for meditation and yoga practices? Because I feel like after, the introduction, I'm starting to like breathe a little more shallow.
Right.
I'm practicing that deep rhythmic breathing that we're trying to encourage people to do here. I mean, you're a busy man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's busy, right? Everybody has so much on their plate.
Yes.
And so as I coach and train some of the top real estate professionals, like literally in the world, like one of the things that we talk about, most of those people are successful in business.
Right.
So we work on, okay, how do we enjoy what we're doing? How do we make sure that we're living long, healthy lives?
Right.
So that you can enjoy all of this money and wealth that you're creating, right? And so we focus a lot on, like self-help, like what are you doing for yourself every single day? So I'm huge on morning routines and it looks different for everybody. For me, this is why I wake up at 4:30. Right. So I can spend literally 2.5 hours a day before like life comes and starts interrupting me.
Dude,
and the interesting part is when I started doing a morning routine, man, it was probably around 7 or 8 years ago now. It started at 15 minutes. And it was just some breathing exercises
Okay.
that I learned from Tony Robbins.
Okay.
That I got a lot out of. Like, it provided more energy for me, and it has grown to where I was like, okay, I have to stop because I have to work eventually today.
Right.
But we've talked about this before. Like, if my glass isn't full, it's hard for me to fill up my kids' glass. Like, how do I come to today at a peak state, like playing all out? And in order for me to do that, I got to make sure that I'm grounded, I'm focused, I know what I'm doing, and I'm ready to go for the day.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. We definitely have like-minded there. That's something I work with my clients as well, is just finding that work-life balance, you know, feeding yourself with the things that nourish your spirit and nourish your soul and make you feel alive. You've got to have that. You can't just work, work, work.
Now, and there's like, it makes me so sad when I hear people talk about like, oh, it's Sunday, I got to go to work tomorrow, because literally, like, when you love what you do, when you're passionate about what you do, like, it doesn't even feel like work. Like, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to stop working so I can go grab dinner. Or I see my kids playing outside. I'm like, what time is it? Right. And so I have to remind myself, okay, like, this will be there later, but I get so wrapped up in it and I love what I do. Like, I'm helping agents create, real estate agents and professionals make a difference in their lives. And like, where I focus on with my clients is helping other people create wealth through real estate. And how do you, like, we work so hard for this money, like, let's not just go spend it. Like, how do we make that money work for us? And that's where investment properties, and, you know, we talk about the 5 ways that real estate actually produces income. It's not just by rental checks, but depreciation, appreciation, tax benefits, cash flow, paying down your notes. Like, those are the things that I like to see. Like, how do I help people spend more time doing what they love?
No, I love that. I love that. And I guess before we kind of dive into all the things that people are tuning in to want to know, I want to say, like, guys, if you're out there and you've got a question for Larry about yoga, meditation, just, you know, that balance and focus, please go ahead and, you know, post any comments that you have. And before we kind of get going, Larry, before I start grilling you with questions, I want to kind of check in with you, and just, like, I know we're in the midst of the pandemic, and I kind of like to hear how all of my guests are, you know, what their experience has been so far. So, like, out of curiosity, what's been the best part of being home quarantined?
So one of the most beautiful, like, I feel like this is almost like Mother Nature coming to us and being like, you guys have been bad, like, go to timeout and think about what you've done, right? And and my wife and I kind of joke around with that, but it's been beautiful. We have a bayou right next to our house. Like, the amount of people that I'm seeing outside, like, reconnecting with nature, spending time with their family and loved ones, is probably the most beautiful aspect of this. Like, there's some not good things, right? Like, people are sick, people are passing, like, incomes are being affected, which are not great things. But, like, I have a gratitude journal I write in every single morning, and, like, what can we focus on that has been great, and what can we take from this? Because we can't change it. So control what we can. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Okay. And what would be your worst for the pandemic?
So the worst is that you have people that are probably in well, I know that there's people in situations, whether they're single and they're quarantined and they're not used to kind of being with themselves, or maybe they're in a relationship that's not a good relationship. Ordinarily, right? Like, people get to go to work, they get to calm down, like, and now so people are, you know, just like stuck, and they don't know how to deal with things. So if you're not doing some of the things that we'll talk about today, like, is it serving you or not? So that's one of the downfalls of what I see, is like, people don't work on themselves enough. So they're filling this time with nervous habits, binge watching on Netflix, you know, doing binge eating, right? They're just like, oh, I'm bored, so I'm going to eat. And so,
or drinking.
They're doing things that don't necessarily serve them, or that's not the person that they want to be when they come out of this. But this will create habits that will be really hard to break if they don't correct it now.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So what's been your personal family favorite moment thus far during the pandemic?
Personal family favorite moment up to this time. So I would say, like, literally, I mean, we have a very nice house. Like, we have a playground in the back. We have a water fountain in the back, right? Like, with 2 waterfalls, and we got a trampoline.
Awesome.
And seeing my kids, just the joy, like, and it takes me back to when I was a childhood. I won't let them do. I remember jumping off the roof onto the trampoline into the pool, right? Like, and so we have nets now and things that I didn't have on my trampoline. But that's
Thank
really
God nets, right?
Yes. I'm like,
God.
man, how did I make it this far? Like, it was not safe what we were doing. So just some of the personal memories of sharing time and like laughing with our family members and stuff has probably been my biggest takeaway or proudest moment.
That's awesome. I like it. Okay. And so now that we're going to jump in, I want, just for like the people that are out there that are watching that really don't understand yoga or meditation, can you explain a little bit about like each one and how they work?
Yeah. So, and this is just going to be from layman's terms, because I'm not a certified guru. I'm not an instructor.
Yes. You're just somebody who practices.
I practice, and I like test a lot of different things in my life to see, oh, does this serve me? Does this work for me? If it does, then I continue.
Right.
So yoga, like if you look at the research, there's multiple different forms. There's vinyasa, there's kundalini. Every position that you're in has a different benefit to your body.
Okay.
So if you're having intestinal issues, literally there's poses that will just focus on your internal, like you think you're just, people think it's stretching.
Okay.
It's so much more to your circulatory system, your immune system. It's breathing. So it becomes very rhythmic, like where you breathe through the positions, which again, just kind of help calm things down and get you in place. So I would say yoga has a lot of health benefits for the entire body.
Right. It's not just stretching. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not just stretching. Right. It can be. And some people just need stretching because we're born as these infants with perfect posture and structure. Right. Like I see my kids squat and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's the perfect squat. And then we break our arm. We don't stretch, right? Like we do all of these things and we lose that.
Yeah.
And so yoga is more so like for your entire body. And there's a lot of science that if you follow, like not so much Western medicine, but Eastern medicine, our body is made up of energy.
Right.
And so everything that flows through us, our blood and everything is all energy. And we have what we call chakras. We have 7 major chakras or energy points that things flow through. Well, if there's blockages, that could be from stress on the body or eating, that energy doesn't flow. And all of a sudden you might have pain here or there. So it's more so like opening up the flow of your entire body, where meditation is more so, I would say, for your headspace, right? Like, there's so much that's being thrown in all of this constant chatter.
Right.
How do we say like, shh, right? Like, quiet down. Let me figure out what's important to me. And people have a hard time with that because there's so many things to keep us busy.
Right.
It's hard. Oh, I have ADD. Like I can't sit for 2 minutes. Well, then start for 30 seconds without saying a word.
Exactly.
And this is where I use a lot of like guided meditation, because that's a little bit easier for people to kind of ease into that. To start.
Okay. So that really kind of takes me to my next question. You're saying that like for a beginner, the guided meditation works really well. How about though for yoga? Like what would be like if somebody's never done yoga before, which practice would you suggest or recommend?
So most people, oh man, that's such a hard question. I would say you have to start somewhere to see what you like. The most popular, like most yoga studios are vinyasa, which are going to be like your similar to a workout, right? Like when you go through, you're focusing on different body parts and there's a teacher kind of guiding you through this journey. The beautiful part right now is that no yoga studios are open, but everything is available online.
Right.
some of my, so I can literally do a yoga session with the top yoga instructors in the world. And Patrick Beach is one of my personal favorites.
Okay.
He's one of my personal favorites, but I can send you over a list of others. But literally there's so many great resources on YouTube and stuff that are literally like, here guys, here's a free yoga class. Like,
actually, if you will do that after we finish up, I would love you just to post in the comments, just like if you have a couple of recommendations that people could try out. I think this would be a great time for them to do so.
Absolutely. Another one that I like a lot, and I'll put in here in the chat box, is Alo Yoga.
Okay, tell us about that.
And so Alo Yoga, you can just search them on YouTube, but they actually do like 21-day challenges and things like that, to where they'll focus on your chakras, they'll focus on that. And then after they finish that, they actually did a 7-day meditation. So they kind of encompass everything. And I like that. They're very credible. They have some of the most amazing instructors in the world, like Patrick Beach, who is one of my favorite, will do like, drop-ins and stuff for them. And yeah, so I would say that's a great free resource that's out there for people to tap into. And I can send you over a list of others as well.
Okay. And Madeline is asking us, like, how do you keep your mind from wandering off while still practicing yoga?
So the beautiful part is that it doesn't have to, right? Like it's not about controlling the mind. It's about recognizing that thought and letting it pass through. Okay. And so what I like about yoga, because yoga in my eyes is almost meditative as well, because you're kind of blocking out the noise of the outside world and focusing on that time.
Right.
And this is where, like, if you have a good instructor, they know when your mind starts to wander. And so they're going to say, okay, lift your chest up a little bit more, sink into it a little bit more. And that takes your focus on the practice of what you're doing. So if you try and do it in dead silence and you're just watching a picture, it could be very challenging, but this is where a good instructor is going to help you through that process.
Okay, that's really great. And I know you're married, so and you were kind of talking earlier about like the different benefits, how it's not just stretching, you can clear blockages, and if you've got digestive issues, those are benefits for doing yoga. But, have you experienced like, any benefits just like from like that affect your marriage is kind of what I was getting at.
So it's a bonding experience. Like luckily, Ariana loves to do yoga as well. She has a passion to actually get her certification. That's not on my list. So, with CrossFit Katie, she actually hosts a class every single Sunday virtually right now. And I'm just kind of her model. Like I just want to actually practice, right? So it's a way for us to connect and bond.
Okay.
And then she does some breath work and stuff with me as well, because we both realize like when we're able to practice these two items more often, like we come at a higher level each day and we're able to serve each other better.
That's kind of what I was getting at. I that's good to hear. Okay. Yeah. And then what about like, since you're a parent, like have you found that these practices like positively affect your children or help you as a parent? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite parts of the morning, because I wake up really early and I start my routine before, my minions get up, but I'm always doing this downstairs generally. And I can hear my kids, like, as they wake up, like, I swear they're walking around with bricks on their feet and stomping. I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing up there?
Oh my gosh, for real, right?
Yeah, so I can hear them walking across kind of the landing upstairs. And then I'll hear them say, Dad, right? And lots of times I don't force anything on them. Like any of my kids, like, look, if it's open for you, I love for you to do it. But we just got to realize that our kids are always watching.
Yeah, totally.
They're always watching. Okay. And so many times, like my kids will come in and they'll jump into downward dog with me. Like I'm doing balancing poses and Dom's like, oh, I think I can do that. Right. Like, And so I just like, I encourage that in meditation as well. Like they'll see me kind of meditating, and my youngest daughter will come in and she'll sit right on my lap, and she'll kind of put her hands like this, and like it's some of my favorite memories. Like whether they keep it or not is totally up to them, but I want them to just be exposed to it. You know,
it just builds that intimacy in your relationship, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just like you said, they'll never forget coming down and sitting in dad's lap and having that memory. Like that's a cherished memory.
Yeah. And even at nighttime, like generally most nights I'll do like a 5 or 6 minute meditation with them just to kind of wind down and get ready for bed as well.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, so tell us, like, how did you like first kind of get interested in these practices? Like what happened in your life what door opened?
The catalyst, like that kind of prompted all this, was a Tony Robbins retreat. So I went to Unleash the Power Within.
Okay.
I walked across like 14 feet of hot burning coals, like, and didn't like, my feet are still there. And I came out of there and I was like, I can do anything, right? Like I just walked across fire.
Oh my gosh.
And that event just like changed the whole way that I thought about life. I've always been big on goals, but I've always just been like, look, I'm just going to charge hard and I will get what I want and nobody stands in my way. It kind of changed and allowed me to open up some different things that I really wasn't open to. And so at the end of UPW, it's a 4-day event. He gives you like a 10-day challenge. Like, look, guys, like, so we've practiced all of this stuff. Now I'm going to encourage you to, you know, eat vegan for the next 7 days, the next 10 days.
Okay.
Start with this 15-minute morning routine. If you don't feel better, like in 11 days, like go back. And I was like, well, hell, I can do anything for 11 days.
Exactly. Nothing to lose. Yeah. I love it.
And so I ended up actually being vegan for about 45 days. I loved it. My body felt great.
Yes.
The only issue is I'm big in CrossFit. I went from like 212 pounds to 178 pounds in 45 days.
Woo, my.
Like,
wow.
Not intentionally. Like I just like, I my body just like was firing on all cylinders. And same thing with my breath work. That's kind of when it started.
Okay.
Breath work and my gratitude journal. And so that was the one event. And since then I've been to 4 or 5 different Tony Robbins events. I'm always testing other, other instructors and stuff that are out there to seeing what fits with me. What do I like? But that was the number one event that started it. My wife, the funny part is my wife was trying to get me to do a lot of this stuff for years. And I was like, I can't hear you. I came back and I was like, babe, I got this great idea. And she's rolling her eyes like,
oh gosh, I love it. Yeah.
I told you this 8 years ago. Are you kidding me?
I love it. I so love it. Isn't that always the way it works though? Yeah. Yeah. Timing is everything, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. All right. So for the beginner, like what are some tips to get started on each of these practices? Like what would you say?
So one of my favorite things right now for breath work is on my phone.
Okay.
Is that I have this app and it's called Wim Hof, WIMHOF. This guy is crazy to me. He holds a world record for being submerged in ice for 86 minutes or something like that. Like you and I would have frostbite, like we would, like our hands would look like this, right? He's hiked Kilimanjaro in a pair of shorts, like nothing else. He like swims around like glaciers, and he contributes this to his breath work that you can actually control your internal body temperature by not panicking, right? And a lot of this goes into yoga as well, is you heat your internal body temperature. You're not doing a lot of physically strenuous movements, but you're sweating because you're controlling your breath and heating your body up from the inside out. So he has a free app. It tracks it. He has instructional videos on there that are like, okay, we're going to breathe deeply for 40 seconds, and then you're going to hold your breath.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And so there's a lot of science that goes behind this, is that when you hold your breath, like you literally almost push your body to the limit.
Yep.
And stress it. And when that happens, you grow. And that stress limit is no longer the normal, right? You're now this way. Okay. So I've held my breath for up to 3 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe now.
Ooh, dude, that's incredible. That is incredible. How long did that take you to achieve?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Golly, that's nothing.
And when I started, it was like 40 seconds, 45 seconds, but your body gets conditioned really fast. And so I recommend that because it's easy and it tracks and you can see kind of your progress. Okay. And then you have somebody that is sitting there helping walk you through it. Okay. The other part is, there's this, somebody else that I follow quite often. He's called the Certified Health Nut. Okay. And he looks a little crazy, but he does a lot of great Eastern medicine type breath work, like breath of fire, because all of these have different, like breath of fire, for instance, is for high anxiety or stressful situations. Okay, so we need that. if you're stressing out, right? Like maybe you lost a family member, you lost a job or something like that. You're starting to freak out and going down this rabbit hole. Like take these 3 minutes, kind of go through this breath of fire, and it will calm things down quite a bit. Okay, so, sorry, go ahead. No, so that would be where I would start for breath work. Okay. I think it's the easiest. It's very popular. It's convenient. If it's not easy, people aren't going to do it. So it can't be complicated. So that's where I would start with that. But did you have a question or something? Okay. Yeah, so I was going to kind of catch up. First of all, Christy Skipper is telling you hello. And what you're saying is so cool. And everyone's appreciative for like some of these, the Certified Health Nut. We have the Breath of Fire. We have Wim Hof. But I wanted to catch up with the notes. You mentioned something else on YouTube that we could use. What was that called? Oh, yeah. I just realized that I typed it in the private chat and not the comment chat. It was Alo Yoga, ALO Yoga. And it's like a little black circle is their symbol. And it just says aloe in the middle of it. They have hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff there. And they put out a lot of free content for yoga specifically. And everything from beginners to people, like for every different level. And in my eyes, that's one of the beautiful parts of yoga is like you and I can do the same class, but we each push each other to like our own limits, right? So like you may do a modification for something that I can do and vice versa. So it's not that we can enjoy the same environment, the same class, and be at totally different skill levels because it's my job to push myself, not you. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I know that, if people feel like they're, struggling to get started and incorporating these practices, in your opinion, like what is their mental roadblock? Like what's happening there when they sort of resist doing these things? So I think a lot with almost anything is we're human and we don't like change. Exactly. Yep. Even though we realize we can think back and probably where we've experienced the most amount of growth was when drastic change happened. It wasn't when we were in our comfort zone. Right. Right. So this whole COVID-19 will create a ton of growth. Whether that growth is good or bad is kind of up to us. But it will create growth because we're uncomfortable. We're being pushed to the limits. Yeah, so, I think uncomfortable, like, like you said, fear of the unknown, right? Yeah. Because they don't really know what to expect. I think some people are afraid to be alone with their thoughts. Yeah. Right. Or their emotions. I think some people are so good at distancing themselves from what they're really feeling that the idea of slowing down and paying attention to the thoughts and feelings that come up is terrifying. Yes.
Yeah. So definitely fear of the unknown, fear of change. What else? Anything else come to mind?
I mean, if you think it's what has been broadcast to them for however old they are they 30 or 40 years old? Have they been taught that yoga's for girls, right? And they're this masculine guy that's like, oh, well, I can't do that. That's what girls do, right?
Right. That's true. That's actually a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of ego involved with that as well. Like, who's been telling you the information? Is it the right or wrong information? Like, not that I don't believe or trust what people say. I try and take it for myself to figure out what it's gonna do for me, and then I'll make a judgment. And so I would say, like, people think it's woo woo, right? It's not a real workout, this or that. Like, come do an hour-long handstand workout with me, and like, tell me that's
not. It wasn't a workout. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me it wasn't a workout.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Christy says, yes, uncomfortable circumstances do offer availability for growth and change. Yeah. And really now is the time. Like you said, Larry, I think you were spot on. I mean, now you're either going to walk away from this pandemic with either some great new habits, or you're going to have to find some really bad habits, right? And undoing the damage. Like, I think that's why I really wanted to have you on today, is I just want to encourage people to try something new that's going to positively impact their life, to make better changes for their lifestyle now while they have a little bit more time on their hands to do so.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. And, what do we tell our kids? Like, when, they're freaking out and stuff like that, crying, they got hurt, like, just breathe. Right. And so literally, I think everything kind of starts and ends with the breath work side of it.
Agreed.
Whether we're doing CrossFit, right? Like, if I can hold my breath for 3.5 minutes, man, I can probably recover from something a little bit faster.
Absolutely. Yeah. For any athlete that's out there listening, that might be just that little benefit they need to give it a try. Might be enticing enough. Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we end, I just wanted to ask, is there any little nugget of wisdom that you would want to share with viewers?
Oh, man. So for me, I would say take some action is fail forward, right? Like, there's no failing.
I love that.
Yeah. Fail forward. Take it, just try something. If you don't like it, try something else so that you can build on it and figure out what yours is. Yes. I'm such an advocate of morning routines because once life starts, like if you work for somebody else, your bosses are calling and they derail you, or your clients are calling and they derail you. So if this is important to you, if you want to be better, you have to spend time to work on yourself. It's easiest to do that in the morning. That's the first thing before I ever pick up my phone, before I ever respond to any emails or anything like that. I go through my yoga, my breath work, I make my green juice, my gratitude journal, and I read. And then I plan my day. Those are the 6 things that I do, but you got to figure out a system that works for you.
Sure. Everybody's different. You've got to find out what nourishes your soul and helps you stay balanced and centered. So having just this toolbox, though, for people is so beneficial. They can try on these different things and find what works for them. So we super appreciate you being here. I feel like everybody needs to hear your message. I made a couple of quotes in the comments. I love your fail forward comment. I love that. I quoted you on that. That's pretty awesome. Morning routines are awesome. And if you want to be better, you have to spend time working on yourself. Those are 3 huge takeaways. So thank you so much, Larry. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. If your tribe needs anything, they just they can connect with me on Instagram. My handle is at Larry MF White on all social media channels. They can reach out to me. They can whatever you guys need, however I can serve you guys, please let me know.
Awesome. I put it in the comments so people can reach out. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
I love you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.